Happy Halloween, everyone. Well, the centerpiece of this year's Scooptober celebration is finally here. My last one will be capping up both this and Bat Month with another cross between the two, as I did a year ago. It turned out pretty well. So, let's talk about what is easily my favorite incarnation of franchise. Is that not only managed to respect its lineage over the decades, but also build upon it in ways that it had surpassed its predecessor in a lot of respects. And while Joe Ruby and Ken Spears may have been inclined to disagree with a lot of the decisions they made creatively, I, in turn, respectfully disagree with decisions they made with disagree with their take and how it is definitely, to me, a peak Scooby-Doo who, personally, last seen from two seasons from officially from July 12th, 2010, and the final episode airing on April 5th, 2013. So here is why Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated is easily my favorite version. Let's get started. As a direct inverse of the previous adaptation I talked about, how not only is this evident from the title itself, the stories lean hard into the mystery solving aspect. I mean, not only in terms of each individual whole mystery, but also how they build towards bigger overarching stories, and easily relating hard in a serialized narrative, and in my honest opinion, doing it in the ideal way, where you can enjoy each episode on its own, as well as a chapter of the larger narrative. And I say this to be accurate given how they call each episode a chapter, so it's like a book you have to keep reading, make sure you get all the information in each story, to understand the full narrative. I mean, while there's a bunch of them that build towards it, there are two major ones that are key to the story. What happened to the original Mystery Incorporated that went missing years ago, which is bulk of season 1, and also the mystery they were attempting to solve, which definitely takes center stage in season 2, of a mysterious entity known mainly as Nibiru, which will come up again in my other points here. But before I get too into those, I thought I'd also compliment another factor I really enjoy about the show. And another ideal contrast to the last adaptation I talked about, the visual direction not only manages to take full embrace of the aesthetic established by the original Scooby-Doo Where Are You, but also putting an own spin on it with the characters being very stylized, but still recognizable. Especially, they like how the other little details that will be key later on, but deliberate use of anachronisms where her Fred mentioned he has a smartphone. While it does have a lot of apps you'd expect from it, even the time this originally aired, the actual device itself is like a big chunky flip phone with physical buttons and the antenna on the outside. And every time, and they do have computers and color TVs, but they're all big chunky CRT monitors. They all dress like it's a 60s or 70s still, and they still have horror hosts with Vincent Van Gogh being a recurring character, even in one episode. where Shaggy and Scooby won a contest to come visit him and his mansion where mystery takes place. With the passing of his price in 1991, the character has, in subsequent appearances, been voiced by Maurice LaMarche, who incidentally based all of his performances off of Price, so there's that. And while I'm on that subject, I also enjoy how the vocal performances also are top of the line. Frank Welker, a man that has voices reprised the role of both Fred and Scooby. Matthew Lillard definitely takes center stage from Casey Kasem as Shaggy, though Kasem does still appear in the show as Shaggy's father, who wishes he would have contribute more in life than just guzzling mass quantities of food with his dog, like I'm watching spooky movies at nights. And we of course we have recurring voices for both Daphne and Velma, being Grey Delisle and Mindy Kaling, who have been recurring in voices for the characters for years now. And even like the ethereal theme music and synths are definitely fits a setting what has the right blend of both nostalgic and otherworldly elements towards it. I mean, that's where almost seems like a theremin and was employed in some parts. And yes, I also like little visual Easter eggs as well that would call other parts of the Hanna-Barbera canon. There's an episode where Blue Falcon has gotten a bit of foul humor after almost losing his best friend. Though since Dynamite got an upgrade, not only is still as chipper and goofy as ever, he's also quite powerful. I mean, as you'd expect from a dog which had a bunch of cybernetic and genetic enhancements done on them, by none other than Quest Labs even. Fred's actual father, which a key storyline, resembles Ray Spanion from Johnny Quest. And we have other little gags there, like how some of the teens at the volleyball tournament at the beach resemble the team variants of Pebbles Flintstone and Bam Bam Rubble. I actually found that pretty amusing, even someone who's never a huge fan of that spin-off main. And also like how other ones that Warner's, the distributor, found a use for, like how some recurring side characters resemble the Griswolds on Vacation movies, even their own version of the Family Truckster. And a key episode features like a send-up of the original version of The Shining, and with the mansion finding a vital clue to discovering what happened to the previous incarnation of Mystery Inc., and also how it's part of like a long lineage of mystery solvers. Like, some of them have different backgrounds, others have different animal companions, but that's the one constant that proves to be key. No matter whether or not it's a paranormal threat or someone trying to pull some real estate swindle on a costume, it's always undone by four meddling kids and their pets. Classic. Dealing with any beloved franchise, which is especially one that's multiple generations of fans like this one, whenever you want to expand upon the character dynamics, it is admittedly a tricky thing to get right and an easy one to mess up. Fortunately, this is one area of the show, honestly nailed. I mean, well, of course the characters are the recognizable archetypes, as you expect. It's the way they're used that really helps the show stand out 15 years on from its initial debut, where every character trait is rooted in not just individual backgrounds, but also their respective arcs over the course of the entire show. Shaggy's fearfulness and bottomless appetite. Scooby's being like a talking Great Dane, who also is often fearful, has bottomless appetites. Daphne's his vanity and fashion sense, and Velma's intelligence and sass. To be fair, I've always liked my Velmas to have a little bit of sass, especially the. Heck, Multiverses even made that one of her taunts, and I still have the game on my system. I'll definitely be fiddling with it online mode in the near future. Count on that. And also implication that she and Daphne were once more than just friends, and especially Fred's his desire to build a better mousetrap, or in this case, a better monster trap. Uh, it does make sense to me that is only rooted in his complicated relationship with his father, the mayor, as well as him finding out the truth about his actual parentage, which not only is the key plot point finale of season one, but also throughout season two, but also by the showrunners, which ones in particular will be always on the spectrum, which made sense to me as someone who is that way themselves. Kind of figured he was a bit coded that way, given his hyperfixation on traps and how, even if he doesn't always read the big social cues with emotions or even make eye contact actively, he does still generally care for others in his own way, especially Daphne. The implication that at the end that they were engaged should be engaged, but like any kids in that time period, they would definitely save it for after they graduate, which, and of course, it also comes into play as I find more connections to what happened to the original Mystery Incorporated, and one thing I've also made heavily clear, especially as others have to me, that nothing happens in a bubble, even if it might seem otherwise. That as you get older, you end up believing in coincidences less and less, to say the least. Some adaptations of the franchise lean more into the humorous aspects, whether there's anything highly wrong with that. Others tend to be more spooky, up to and including him playing the paranormal threats as real rather than being a hoax like in other adaptations. And Spain. I believe this show found the right balance of that. Most of all, through the greater scope of Nibiru, who the con artist trying to pull a fast one on people have their personae rooted in the paranormal, up to and including a lot of the villains that they faced in years past and are on display at the local museum. Naturally, that also lends itself to poke fun, not just at itself, but also a lot of jokes still amuse me to this day. I mean, where I know I made a similar joke in my look at 13 Go Scooby-Doo, but it's the idea that Flim Flam got busted for his conning people and is currently serving, in Daphne's words, a 25 to life sentence, and also explains why Fred was not in that show all those years ago, which immediately leads to another joke when they see a statue of the highly divisive Scrappy, and before Daphne is about to point him out, Fred quickly says, "Look away, Daphne. You promise we never speak of this again. Not ever." To me, that's far more effective than turning the guy into like a bloodthirsty mutant. And I mean, personally, heck, if I was to include him, if it'd be a highly self-deprecation, saying like, it was all fraud, a facade. In fact, my voice isn't even real, it was all something I did for the cameras. I've got a whole bunch of student loans to work off, just like that. And naturally, it all ties together, Heather, for the final reason why this is my favorite incarnation of was easily Hanna-Barbera's longest running, most well-known franchise. While I'm not above admitting when I see iconography from past adaptations and new version, and that stands out at me. To me, the best way of honoring the lineage of any franchise is not merely through showing, I mean, props or sets or characters on screen, but how you write them, showing how much you care through the story and the characterization, and the journey it takes us to our destination. And I can honestly say, hey, that from its first shot to its final moments, this show nails that. I mean, showing how the middling kids became like the tight knit friends that we all know and love, of that of and how they defeated the Nibiru entity, and in a way changed their future for the better, even as it also ends up being their present and their past. And naturally, it's because of this, this that the show functionally ends where the original Scooby-Doo Warrior ends complete with them fixing the Mystery Machine and getting accepted into college and taking a road trip to see their professor, who happens to be a one-eyed white, as in the Black Knight host case who was involved with back in '69. Nice. While there have been many versions of the show before and many versions since that want us to be made, I'm still keeping an eye on both Go-Go Mystery Machine and this live-action reboot that Netflix has had cooking, albeit for very different reasons. And everyone has their favorite, and this one is mine, I would say. Hey, and even though I may not have been able to do all the things I wanted to this month, I'm glad to have done the ones I did. And with this, I'll be concluding both Scooptober and Bat Month in just 2 days with an adaptation I've been meaning to cover and another crossover that started me for a while now. You'll just have to wait and see which one I go with, though. That'll be all for now. I'll see you again soon. Take care, everyone. Mm-hmm.